Hi, everybody. It's Mimi from Be Heard, Empower Yourself. And I'm excited to be here because I have my favorite, I call her my co-host, Erin Celise. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Mimi. How are you?
I'm frantic as usual, but handling it well. So, anyway, we have done quite a few episodes on spirit guides. And just to update a little bit, recap for people that may not have seen all those episodes. Um, what are spirit guides? Spirit guides sometimes are described as companions to the soul, walking you through incarnations and the spaces in between. Now, everybody doesn't believe in incarnation. However, every religion has some sort of belief or story about a guide. Catholics call them guardian angels, so it is quite common concept, okay? And Aaron, um, what would you call yourself? Not a soul guide. What's your
Uh,
title?
yeah, I keep trying to fall on the right name. I had a conversation about this. Like,
Oh,
do you
yeah?
call yourself a psychic? I'm like, no, not
No.
really. It's not like that. It's not telling the future, talking to dead people. Although I will tell you an interesting thing about that.
I
Um,
can't wait.
but it's more like a soul guide, interpreter, translator. Like, here's what's going on in the soul world. Here's what's showing up. Let me put it into words for you.
Gotcha.
So, a sort of a conduit, but like, yeah, I can take the messages that are coming through for you and turn them into English,
Yeah.
and that way you can understand them too, and then help you interpret.
Yeah. And, sometimes people will say, oh, I have intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But that intuition could be your soul guide talking to you. That's your intuition. Um, it can be interpreted in a lot of ways. So we've been talking about that, and we did mine. And Aaron just needs your birth date, where you were
Mm-hmm.
born, and your time of birth, right? And
Yeah, sometimes I don't even need that. Like, I've
really,
started doing them at live events.
hmm,
And the last one I did, I just decided not have somebody sit down for 20 minutes and we talk. I just said, 5 minute message guide. And the person was in front of me. They gave me their name. Sometimes they gave me their birth date. Sometimes they didn't want to. And then a message would come through.
really,
Yeah, that was really fun. So it was kind of fun, like this just little boom, let me just give you a little piece. And then
wow,
if you want to
yeah,
go deeper, yeah, so it's like it's connecting to your Akashic records, and that's why having that information just
yeah,
to make sure that I feel confident I have the right person, that I'm
yeah.
not, reading someone else with the
Yeah,
same
that's really
name.
interesting that that can happen, but that's because they know you. Not the person, the soul, the spirit guide. So this is the thing. Anybody can go back and look. We have stuff on Akashic records and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff that I never even knew about 20 years ago. So I'm like learning just like anybody else. And Aaron did mine, and it was quite interesting. And I have six, and I know their names, which is, she told me unusual that they would tell me their names. And they have given me specific um, evidence that they're here,
Yes.
specific, okay? And things that you cannot deny. And so I want to, after the show, I'll talk to you more, Aaron, but I want to think about contacting them one-on-one without,
Mm-hmm.
which I know you said is possible.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm really into this now. So today, though, the part we're going to talk about is, okay, we have these key connections. We just talked about that. And they're here, I believe, a lot of religions believe, maybe to nudge you toward experiences that are going to help you grow and be a better person, or They create coincidences that really aren't coincidence, but that places you on your path. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I believe personally that everybody has a mission and has a purpose in life. Everybody doesn't necessarily believe that. I do. Um, so today let's explore that idea. So I'll start with a question for Erin. Um, why does understanding where your soul comes from matter so much to people?
Why does it matter? Or,
Well, like the soul, like just some people, if they want to know, like,
yeah,
what I have soul, where did it come from? Was there a God? Is there, what is this?
there, I mean, there is a God. I do not define that. Well, that term to me is much broader in
Mhm.
that it is the word that we give for that force of things we can't explain.
Exactly.
So it doesn't, yes. And then people thousands of years ago took it and put it into a book, their own book, whichever book you want to read in
Yeah.
whichever language, and said, this is how it is. Maybe not. But even in a broader sense, I mean, I have done readings for people who are devout Catholics, Christians, non-denominational, speak different languages from different countries,
Mhm.
Jewish. And if you can be open to this, it still fits within your religious belief system,
Yeah.
because we all come in and we have souls. So the reason I think that it's really helpful to know where your soul comes from and like what your divine gifts are, and kind of the foundation of how you came into this existence, is that it gives you a frame for understanding yourself and what alignment's going to look like and what it doesn't look like.
Yeah.
And that can be different for people. So, my simplest example is, for some people, going into the store and buying one apple is like exactly in alignment, but for somebody else, buying one apple's out of alignment because they maybe were supposed to get three. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's a silly analogy, but there might be something that looks like an action for the same person or two different people that does completely different things. And it's like, if you
Yeah.
know what that is, you're not going to be like, oh, I bought the one apple, and you walk out and things are still looking not great. You can be like,
Yeah.
okay, I understand what I was supposed to do or what I need to do,
Yeah.
what alignment looks like, what those choices going towards like positive alignment and filling myself with abundance versus it's going to look different from somebody else. So the foundation's really helpful. And then when you understand yourself, and as I do this for more people, it helps me understand other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. What
kind of
makes sense?
seeing, like,
Hmm.
the simplest phrase is, why does this always happen to me?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, like, that's basically your spirit guides and your experience right now
Yeah.
happening to you. And
Yeah.
it could be the bad, it could be good. Some people, my dad, he just wins stuff. Like,
Oh,
he'll go
yeah.
get a scratcher ticket and he'll win,
I know
and
people like that. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
in the city raffle, he bought like 2 tickets and won the Jeep. He's
Oh,
that guy. So he just wins stuff. And I want to be that, but I'm not quite. So,
that's
you
not your
know,
gift. That's
no. And so, like, the why does it always happen to me, for some people, it's just like everything just seems to work out. But for
and
some other people, they
yeah.
just keep going, oh, the same thing, the same relationship, the same kind of people. And
But
if you
they're not
start to,
changing. They're not changing anything
yeah,
in
but
their
if you
life.
start to see that, you can start to see what the lessons are within that.
Yeah.
And it helps you change your perspective to understand why you keep getting these things
Yeah.
and how to get out of the loop. Like, it's a loop. That's what I call it. Your loop,
Oh,
and you keep looping it, and it happens again and again. And unfortunately, you've probably done this, 20 times in past lives. And if you don't learn it this time, you're going to do it again, and it's going
yes.
to look different,
Exactly.
but it
Yeah.
could be different people, it could be different relationships, but you'll do it again.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah,
in the loop.
I have a very specific example that just came up
Oh,
with
tell
somebody,
me.
but she keeps feeling like it's always her and trying to keep people accountable. And I'm like, okay, not to get too woo on you, but that's your lesson. Like, and I haven't done her reading. Maybe in the past she hasn't been accountable. So this time around, she's the person that feels like she has to keep everybody else, but it keeps getting her in
Uh,
trouble. Like,
well,
you know,
sure.
she wants people to be accountable for what they do. And then the people that come into her life can't do it. Like
No,
they get mad at her and blame her and, you know, get defensive. And it's the same thing, but it was her ex-husband. It was, you know, her
yeah,
brother. Now it's a coworker. Then it's her boss.
yeah.
Like, and I'm like, you realize this is the same energy. There's something else going on. And maybe it's that she's supposed to teach these people lessons. I don't know, but like it's very clearly a why is this always happening to me?
Yeah, and the people that she's doing this for
Yeah,
may take it as criticism. And
absolutely they do
yeah,
because
of
they
course
don't
they do.
understand why they
Yeah.
came into it. So,
And I
um,
didn't ask you for this advice, and I feel like you're criticizing me or being judgmental. So of course
yeah.
you're going to get mad at her. I understand that.
And so she feels like people are mad at her all the time. And, um, you know, go, well,
Yeah.
let's look at this differently. Like they keep coming into your life and something has to change, or you're still going to get these same kind of people coming in
Yes.
where you're expecting accountability and they can't do it.
Right.
And now there's this wall and this
Yeah.
friction creating. And then you think, is it me? I mean, yes, it is, but not in like this terrible way where you're not a good person, you know, but
No,
yes, it
no,
is your energy.
it's your energy. Um, I was in a loop for about 20 years, and I didn't know who I was, and my identity was formed by my parents. And I went out into the world not knowing a thing, and made very poor decisions with men who then decided to tell me who I was and what
Mm-hmm.
my identity
Yep.
was.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this is a story for a lot of women. And I say women, I'm not saying it never happens to men, but it's more women because we've always been treated as less than, a woman. They didn't have, you could go back in the Bible, you could go back decades of history, whatever. The man, it was always about the man. There's a few very brave women that broke through that, I will say. But I went into that idea of being less than. And I don't think that it was even conscious. It was an
No, it's,
unconscious thing.
yeah.
And until I broke free of that pattern, and my pattern was to self-medicate because I was picking these abusive, terrible men. It's awful. Or I'd find a nice guy, but he didn't want to commit. I had two children. He didn't like children. So I was just not doing well in relationships, let's put it that way, which affected everything else. It affected my financial stability.
Yeah.
It affected my educational goals. It put them off for years and all these things. And so for me, my spirits could not get through to me because I was drinking alcohol. So I was not in an aware, open psychic stage, let's call it. And so when I got sober, it still took me years, and like you said, to believe it was me. Everything bad was me. I made the wrong decisions, this, that, and the other thing. So I went into the counseling cycle, for years, and 12 step and all that stuff, which nothing wrong with that. And it was good. And it helped me become more of who I was supposed to be. But it is only about maybe 15 years, maybe more, that I went outside of the dimension that most of us stay in. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about. And doing the podcast had to do with not going crazy during COVID, having something. And I really found my thing because it was like a natural gift. And I want to talk about that because we do have gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't know what those gifts are, and we don't explore to see what they are. This fell into my lap. that I would never have thought to do this, or write. And I ended up writing 4 books. So it was like, oh my God, all these years that I don't want to say I wasted. I mean, I did have 2 beautiful children, but all these years, I could have been on a different path. But that's neither here nor there. So we struggle with our identity. That's what I'm getting at. And how can finding out our soul origin help with that?
Yeah, it gives you a place to ground to, you know, name. I think just as people, we love categories. We do. We like to put things into boxes and categories and understand them.
Mhm.
And if, you know, it's this funny thing. So like, yes, everybody is unique, but um there are ways that we can say I can name these things about you, you
Mhm.
know, and those are really helpful because then you go, oh, I get it. Like that kind of explains why I'm always so sensitive, or, why I can feel this about people, or, why I'm so drawn to being outside. Like,
Mhm.
and like you said, like I always call them the gifts, but it's never anything that we consider gifts, because it just comes easy to us. So
Yeah.
other people have other gifts and they never consider them gifts. They're like, well, that's just so easy to do. It's just how you do it. So obvious, but it's not obvious to other people.
No.
So
And
yeah, like
uh,
divine wisdom is one of mine. And people are always like, why did you just say that? Like, how'd you come up with that? I'm like, I don't know, just words come and I say them, but it's not something that everybody does. So to me, it's just my brain is weird and it
no,
just
no,
comes
it's
up
just
with stuff. But
you embraced your gift.
well, yeah,
You
once you can name it, you're like, okay, that is not just random. Like
could have pushed that away.
I could have
Some
and
people
just
would say, "Oh my God, I'm mentally ill. There's something wrong with me because I'm hearing voices or whatever." No, no. And again, I always bring up A Course in Miracles because that book, which is a very highly acclaimed book, um, was written by an atheist. And she said one day she just started to write, and the words were not coming from her.
mm-hmm,
They were coming from, she would say, God, or, Jesus, or a spiritual Christian type person. But anyway, she wrote this book that is quoted all the time. They have classes on it, and she didn't even believe in God. And it's a very religious, spiritual book. So I think of that all the time. Like, how did that happen? Her spirit guides, they knew she was capable, and she was a writer. So they knew she was capable of doing it, and
mm-hmm.
they went through her, and they knew the world needed this book. Okay. And that's different from the Bible, because the Bible was written by more than one person. And I don't even want to get into that, but my minister always says that there's some passages that he knows a woman wrote it. But they didn't give her credit. So once you do, if you're lucky enough to discover your gifts or your talents, then that leads you to purpose. Because if you have and I was just saying that, if you have a special gift or talent, then you should use that. You should realize you must have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Am I on the right track with that thinking?
Yeah, big kind of another word is worthiness. Like I don't this one is interesting because I did get this big message that I kind of ignored for a while and then I went back to, but it was that worthiness is the lens, not the obstacle. Meaning we try to go through life and say, well, I get this thing because I'm worthy. And then you try to convince yourself you're worthy to have it.
Oh,
Like the obstacle is getting to the point of believing you're worthy. And then you go to therapy and you're there and you do your mantras but it's the lens. Like you have to shift it where you just have to know you are already worthy. You already have a purpose.
right.
Um, and you might not like your purpose. Like
This is
that might
true.
be another thing. But if you know what your purpose is and you can be
Mhm.
like, wow, I understand it,
Mhm.
I think that gives you this really beautiful clarity and peace.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, my purpose is, some people's purpose is to come into this world and be in really hard situations. Like that is a trait of a soul group, is to come into this world and be an addict, like be in
Mhm.
poverty. And that's awful. It feels awful, but like there's this getting out of it part too. So not that, everybody has to write a book and like I was like this and now I'm not, but
Yeah.
it feels weird to say because I know people push back like, well, that's terrible. But if we all come in and have a purpose, you can use that purpose
Yeah.
to better yourself in this experience because you're going to have more experiences.
And
What are you
help
going to bring
other
into that
people.
next
Yeah.
experience? Are you going to
Yeah.
have, are you going to be better? Like, did you learn what you need to now? Or are you going to do it again and again and again?
Right. Exactly.
You
Right.
have the chance right now. And once you're
Yeah.
aware of that, you
Yeah.
can make the choices to learn the lesson,
Yes.
to be better, to do something different next time.
Yeah. And
I don't
many,
know. It's like empowering and scary at the same time.
it is, it's very scary. And many of the episodes on the show are about just that. Empower yourself. So you have to,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So I had an abusive marriage too. And I didn't think it was a drinking problem, but it was. I just thought, it would calm myself down or whatever. But I was self-medicating depression and anxiety. But all of those things I owned. I was in the business. I owned two bars. And many of almost all my friends were my customers. And almost all my customers were alcoholics.
Mhm.
And I can say that because they came into the bar every day. And every day they had more than three drinks. Hello, you're probably an alcoholic. Okay. And many of them are dead. Many of them died during the past 30 years. Younger than me, died when they were in their 20s or their 30s, based on addictions, overdoses or alcohol takes a toll on the body that's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Um, One of my ex-husbands died from cirrhosis of the liver and died a painful death. So I know addicts. And the fact that I was put in the spot that I was in to be around them and to become one of them, because I didn't start drinking until I was in my 20s. It wasn't something, that I wanted to do. My father was an alcoholic. I didn't want to drink. Um, but it was there for a reason. And when I got sober, some of those people got sober and didn't die, you know. But I didn't know anything while it was happening because I wasn't ready. And I think that's another thing we could talk about too is readiness.
Yeah. And that whole thing you said earlier, like I wasted time and I caught on to that. I'm like, oof, no, we can't do that. Um, it's so easy to get caught. Why didn't I do this sooner? Yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot. I think of my 20s. I'm like, why didn't I do this in my 20s? So now that I'm older, that things were set. Like there's things I'll tell my kids they should probably do or not do. But
uh-huh.
I don't know. It was like I wasn't ready for those lessons. And if you get to the place where you are now able to see it and do it, then you've done what you needed to and you give yourself grace. Like, yes, it took me longer. Boy, I sure wish I had traveled the entire world in my
Yeah.
30s, but I didn't. So maybe I'm going to be one of those old ladies traveling in my
Well,
70s. Like,
my
just be
little
one of those annoying old ladies in all the places
I'm
because
starting to
that's
be.
when my lesson happened.
But I say to myself when I get in that loop of I should have, what I
Yeah.
should have done, I should on myself. And I say, well, let's look at this. I didn't get to go to Los Angeles in the late 60s to work for Capitol Records, and it pisses me off, and I blame my father. However, that's when Charlie Manson was around and they were killing people. So maybe it's good I didn't go, right? And
Yeah.
I'd say, oh, I only didn't marry my second husband. And then I say, whoa, then I wouldn't have the two daughters, the four grandchildren, and the great grandson I have.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do that to this day. I always do that. If I get into I should have, I wish I did that. Why didn't I meet my present husband? Well, I did meet him sooner, but why didn't I marry him sooner? Why was it meant to be? I had to wait this long. And now he has Parkinson's and, but everything does have a reason. I don't think anything is just happens to happen, like you said. This is a good story. Um, when I was a prayer minister, I went on a educational retreat, and this woman she's like terrific at praying with people. And she told a story. She was going home and she passed a grocery store, talking about apples, and she said to herself, I don't know, I think I think I should stop and buy whatever it was. Let's say it's apples. So she goes into the grocery store. Now, she had no plans on going there. She didn't even know why she wanted the apples. And she went in and she was standing next to a woman and she was going to buy her apples. And she realized this woman was crying. She was crying. So, like me, I'm the type of person, I'm going to talk to you. I'm gonna say, can I help you? Are you okay? And I start a conversation. So she started a conversation, and this woman was going through, some very horrible things. And she just broke down in the grocery store. And this prayer, not only was she a prayer minister, she was a teacher of prayer. Okay. Happened to walk in to buy apples and ended up next to her and talked to her and then said, could I just say a little prayer with you? And she said, oh, I love that. And she took her hand and she said a little prayer. I get the chills again when I tell this story. And then she got her apples, went in the car. Hello? If that isn't a perfect example of random things are not random, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love that story. I love that story. And anyway, getting back to, our soul origin and discovering our purpose and everything. And you said it already. It does affect how we relate to other people because
Mhm.
this woman, like you said, who thinks she's holding people accountable is really kind of judgmental and critical of other people. And she doesn't see it that way, So there's something that I think something has to happen for her to get it.
Yeah. I also think she's in the loop where she is constantly attracting the same kind of people who are going to be doing things that she feels like they need to be accountable for and they're not going to be. So like the energy is still out there. Zoop, they get magnetized right to her. Yep. Little moths to the light. Like
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
glow is I'm going to try to make you accountable, and maybe
Yeah.
the people are like, I want to be accountable, but then they
Yeah.
get there and they hear it and they're like, no. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yep, it's a
And
loop. And I can't
it's
even
true.
say, maybe it's critical, maybe it's not. But it's like the loop is there and it's going to keep happening until it's named, it's cleared, and something different happens.
And see why she does it. So do you think possibly that the things that she is focusing on are things that are wrong with her? I don't mean to say wrong, but part of her personality that she
Yeah, there
doesn't
very well
like.
could be. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also things, yes, and maybe things that she has worked really hard on, maybe thinking she hasn't been accountable in the past. And so she works really hard to do that. And now that's her standard.
Yes.
And it must be held to everybody else.
Yeah. Very
But she's
rigid.
constantly getting people in her life who aren't
Yeah.
going to be accountable. She's not getting the people who work really well side by side with her,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
parallel to her, where she's like, ah, this person does what they say they're going to do. Excellent. She gets all the people that don't do what they say they're going to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like,
And I've always attracted people that uh, were needy, needed to be fixed,
mm-hmm.
didn't know how to do things, would always ask me to help them and then not take my advice, which I love that. And that goes for ex-husbands, that goes for friends, that goes for family. And I had to experience all of that. And it's only been recently that I am getting much better at saying no, the word no. And in particular, I was helping this person who was homeless. And whatever I would suggest, and she had like an angry vibe, angry. And whenever I would suggest something like, well, why don't you go to this church or this place where I know they do things or they help people find a place to stay? No, not me. Is that won't apply to me. No, but no, that's not going to work. And she wouldn't even explore it. So after a few times, I said, I went to say something one day. Now, no, I'm not going to say anything. What? What? I said, no, I've decided not to give you advice unless you ask for it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so it started like that. So now, step by step, everything I suggested to her, she resisted for weeks. And then she would finally do it. Like when she lost her job in the first place. And I said, well, go file for unemployment. Oh no, I won't be eligible. Like she decided in her head.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So, well, I think you might be because they're going to base it on your last job, not this one. She didn't believe me. Weeks later, she goes, oh, I'm going to get an unemployment check now.
You're like, huh, go
Like,
figure. What
but,
do you know?
but I have to wait 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, well, if you listened to me, you'd have it already. So the last time I gave her a number to call, a number that would help her find permanent housing and even a way to pay for it. And she said the but word again, that was her favorite word. And, she didn't call them. So she said to me, I'm going to call them and I'm just going to get like a robot or a recording. Like she can tell the future. Like she knows it's going to happen before it happens.
Maybe you will, but
Yeah. And I said, okay. So when I hung up, I called the number myself. And I did not get a robot or a recording. I got a person. And I said, I'm calling for someone else. And do you have any programs that address uh, a homeless woman? Now, she does have a job. She got a job, but she has nowhere to live. He said, yes, we have two programs that work with women. Like, so I called her back and I said, well, I called that number and they did answer. And I talked to a guy named Jordan and he told me, and even after doing all that, she was still like, she was angry at me. She was always getting angry at me and I'm trying to help her. So I wrote her a text and I said, you don't have many friends here. So maybe you should be nicer to the one that you have. Because she didn't. She has no friends here. She moved here from another state. It's like, don't be mean to me. I'm the one that's helping you. But I mean, that's the nature of some people that they will think, oh no, nobody's going to help me. Victim. They want to be the victim. You've heard that before, right?
mhm.
Yeah, they want to stay in that victim role. Oh no, she's giving me a solution. Oh no, God forbid, I'm not the victim anymore. Anyway, so I'm getting so good at expressing those feelings, like saying, you're disrespecting me, I'm trying to help you. Where before I would not have said that, but I'm happy I'm getting more assertive. So another thing I want to talk to you about is fear,
Mhm.
because when you're talking about soul-centered thinking, it seems so deep, so profound that it has an impact of causing a fear in someone that they don't want to go there. Do
Mhm.
you relate to that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. What are we going to uncover? What don't I want to know?
Yeah. And reaction, I think, is rather to say, I don't believe in that stuff, or that stuff's bluey, that's ridiculous. And really, it's fear, because what's it going to hurt to try something? Why not try it? That kind of thing. But and fear that they might find out something they don't want to know.
Yeah. I usually don't get the I don't believe it, but I there can be, it's like the pushback of not wanting to know. So I've had people, the people that end up working with me, they're already open, they know what
Yeah,
they're getting into,
yeah,
and I tell them up front, like most of the stuff that comes up is things that we need to clear and get rid of. It's not, you were a wealthy whatever, that benevolent goddess in another life that helped everybody. You probably did something wrong, and we need to uncover it and let that go. But I've had people who say, oh yes, yes, I want to do a reading, and they tell me that for months and months and never book. But then I
yeah.
see the posts that they keep posting, on social media, and it's all woe is me, and this person did this, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like so much, oh, everything is terrible, why is everything terrible? I'm like, we could look at that, but it's too scary to clear, because like the thing, is the thing that's comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable to be in, it's still what and it's familiar,
Exactly.
and you stay in it, because what if something different, and now you have to make a change, and
And
change
that's
can be really
why
scary.
that analogy of women that stay in abusive marriages, part of that is they know what they're in. And I mean, I had that situation where even though it was an abusive marriage, he was the father of my two children. And every time I would try to break free and go off on my own, um, he'd put obstacles in my way. And like a couple times he wore me down because I had no money. And I let him come back. And took me a while, like days, to realize it was a mistake. But what does they say? It's better to be with the devil you know than the one you don't, something like that. The
Yeah, I mean,
familiarity of it,
there's there's the comfort in the known, even if it's not
even
safe.
if it's not
It's
nice.
like there's safety in
Yeah,
this. There's safety, you feel safe in this, even
yeah,
though you're terrified and you're not
yeah,
safe, because
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
known, because what would be out there. And I left an abusive relationship with two 14-month olds.
yeah,
I had twins, they were 14 months old, you know and I
yeah.
left, and I didn't have a job, because the narcissistic thing, he whittled down, I had nobody left, he made sure I was isolated,
That's what they do. Hmm.
and it could have been really terrifying to leave the
Hmm.
house, to leave this person, but I had to. And at the time it was just like, I can't not do this. I have to, like, there was just, I knew I needed to do this.
Yeah.
And then my friends were like, you're the bravest person I know. Nothing about it felt brave.
No.
It felt terrifying. It felt like, what have I done? Did I not work hard enough? Did I break up the family? Did I just ruin these kids' lives? Like, um, turns out I didn't, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a dynamic when the other parent goes completely silent and doesn't talk to his kids for 5 years. Like,
Then they're
there's
done that, and
there's that guilt there too. Maybe I
yeah.
should have stayed and tried harder, but at the time I just knew we
Mhm.
couldn't stay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my daughter is actually the soul group of the one I said that, comes into these situations that are going to be hard. And when I read that much later in her life, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I was thinking about, like, I think the hard situation that she was born into was that. And
Mm-hmm.
had we stayed,
Oh,
she probably would be in really awful
I
relationships, and she
think so.
would be. And,
Yes.
so she was born into what her soul said she was born into, but we got
Hmm.
out, and she
So,
doesn't have to do that.
so understanding, and again, not everybody is at this point in their life where they would even want to hear about this stuff. But why it is understanding your soul origin, reduce the fears you might be having in your present life, would you say?
Mm, because it allows you to feel like some of those unknowns aren't so unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I think that's part of it. I think there's just like this peace and clarity that can come with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like we like to categorize things, we like to understand them and have words to them and labels to them.
Yeah.
And once you can get those labels, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this X is Y.
Yeah.
That's, okay, I get it. And it's not so scary.
Yeah. And the
But
first place a lot of us go is to blame ourselves and our own decisions and actions, like you were just saying about, am I doing the right thing? And I went through that too. And for people that listening to this who don't know a lot about it, but they're intrigued by our conversation,
mhm,
where should they begin?
I think, I mean, a great beginning is you can, get a soul reading if you really want to get into it. Just learn your origin.
Someone asked me if you can do a soul reading online for them. And I said, well, that's how she did me. I
Mhm.
didn't go to where she lives in another state. And so Erin does do them. And if you go to her website and get in contact with her, she's very reasonable. She's not extremely expensive or something that, you would say, oh, that's too much money. Like you are, your price range is very conservative. I checked
It
everything.
is.
It is, it really is, because you want to help people. And when you know who you are at your core, that's when your purpose becomes clearer. And that's what happened for me. And my journey becomes more meaningful because now I know I'm on a journey. You know, I didn't know that. I just thought I was born and I'm going to live whatever life I'm going to live and things are going to happen. I have to deal with them. And I just, from your journey, uh, how do I want to phrase this? For me, the question was, who am I beneath everything I've been told to be? In other words, my parents. They're the first people in your life are your parents, and they tell you who you are.
Mhm.
They told you who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so when did you realize that what they told you might not be the truth?
Um, I've always been kind of on my own path, which is part of
Yeah.
the thing. I go, oh, I wish I had just, gotten a single job in my
Yeah.
20s and kept it, and, done the normal life that
Yeah.
you're supposed to do, the picket fence and all that, and, marry someone in your 20s and you stay with them forever.
Yeah.
And I
I'll
didn't.
do
And
that, I think.
I
Yeah.
haven't stayed in the same job,
Yeah.
um, even for 15 years, I didn't have a job. I was self-employed and, doing a lot of things on my own, which is just a weird path for most of my family who will, retire precisely
Mhm.
from a job.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think I think in it was probably my late 20s, to be honest. Like I started thinking there's something more.
There's
But I didn't
something.
really explore any of this kind of stuff until much later,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you have to be ready. So if you could tell our listeners, like if we could leave them with one final thought, What would that be?
Um, that I don't know, it's know thyself.
Know
And
thyself.
yeah,
And
but
you have,
also like I think the most important thing here is that you are not always going to make the perfect choice. You're going to
Mhm.
have choices. You're going to pick one. Something's going to happen. You're going to be like, I wish I did something else. I have done like talking to my spirit guides about this, like, oh, I made this terrible choice. Well, I guess that just means I make bad choices. But no, the thing is, after each choice, you're presented with another series of choices. So I think the biggest thing is it's not always what happened there, because sometimes, I could think, well, I shouldn't have walked down that alley and then this guy wouldn't have done this thing. Like, so that's my fault for going in the alley. No, not at all, you
Mhm.
know, but what is my responsibility is what I do with that afterwards. So the next
Not
choice I
walk
make,
down the next dark alley.
not even that, like, what do I do with the feelings that I have now that this thing happened?
Oh,
You
that
know,
too. Yeah,
I can't blame myself for being there. I should have. No, let's take this moment right now. What's my next choice going to be?
absolutely. Well,
How
this
am I
is
going
great.
to feel about this? So
I'm
I would
gonna
say
go
take
ahead.
your choice, keep doing the next choice,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's it.
Just keep going and be open. Be open. That's a big thing. Um, and I am going to let you know how it goes with my starting a conversation with my spirit guides one-on-one. See how
Yeah.
that goes. I'm excited about that. And because I had too much going on and I wouldn't be able to talk to them if I wanted to with the last few weeks of my life. But now things are like quieting down and I can do that. And I'm going to put at the bottom of the show notes, like how to get in touch with you, how to schedule a reading, and see if we can help some more people find out, who they really are and what their purpose is. So until next time, everybody, stay curious, stay open, and keep exploring the deeper questions of life. So this was a powerful show, and thanks for joining us today. And thank you, Erin.
Absolutely.
All right, till
Always a
next
pleasure.
time.